As the khutbah is saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, remind. Yes? Remind. Is the word itself saying zikr or remind? Coming from zikr also. Remind. Because reminding benefits the who? Ayat is saying this. Allah is saying this. You remember? You don't remember. You remember? You don't remember. I emphasize that. I slowed down and emphasize it too because it's the words of Allah is very interesting. Subhanallah. It's putting it like that. Most people think you have to memorize the Arabic and this and that, but you lose the meaning. People, I'm in Turkey, they say, you know how to speak Arabic? So many times I want to say, Abu Jahl speaks Arabic too. What are we supposed to do? And they criticize Hazrat Bilal because of his Arabic. So what do we say? No, most of the time I say, no, I don't. Anyway, you remember? You remember? Yes or no? Yes, you remember. You must remember. You remember? No, you're sleeping. If I give the khutbah in Punjabi, then you wake up. You too. You? I don't know what you are. You remember or no? It's a yes or a no. You don't remember. What am I supposed to do? Women, do you remember or no? No. You should be lucky. All the main responsibility is not up to you. Now you can say, it's okay. This guy's saying. You remember. Only one remember. And that one is not responsible for anything, especially. Remind. Because reminding benefits the believers. You understand? It benefits the believers. Tariqat is for believers. Yes? Tariqat is not for unbelievers. Tariqat is for those who want to understand themselves, not those who already found themselves. Tariqat is for those who wants to understand their shaitan and is taking the direction and submitting to a living shaykh. Not to think you know better than the shaykh. It's for believers. There are believers inside of Islam, and there are munafiqs who don't believe inside of Islam too, yes? There are unbelievers, non-Muslims outside who believe, as there are non-Muslims who don't believe. So our words will hit to the believers. Doesn't matter what the outside is, what their label is, what their race is, what their religion is, it will hit them. That is the effect. They will be reminded. Reminded means that, as we all went through this is not something that is completely brand new. This is something that is so familiar. This is something that we've seen, we've experienced, we want. Yes or no? At the very least, person is going to say, when I was young, my grandfather used to take me to circles like this. My grandfather used to talk about this. Old people used to. It's something that reminds you. It's not something that is completely new, alien. It's not. So those words are for those who believe, and they are reminded, and when that reminding is given to them, their faith becomes stronger. Their faith becomes stronger. What does that mean, that their faith becomes stronger? They take that and they say, yes, I must try to do that. I must try to do that. I must watch myself. What effect it has on people who don't believe? Nothing. Nothing. It's just blah, blah, blah. Nothing. It's completely alien. Not only that, it's completely useless. Whether outside they look like Muslim or non-Muslim. They may go back and then after that to laugh at us. Which people have done that? You know that? I was very interested, excited even. I said, Allah, Allah. We read about all these munafiqs doing that, and it's actually happening to us. They in front of us, they say yes, behind they talk to themselves, and then they start laughing. They say, you know what? What else they believe in? What? Tell us. And they say, don't drink Coke because it puts dunya in your heart. They start laughing. And you know what else they say? They start saying all these things, all the sunnats and things that our shaykh said. And in front of us, they, oh yes, shaykh, no shaykh. I love you, shaykh. As you say, shaykh, forgive me, shaykh. Please pray for me, shaykh. It's very interesting to me. I'm not even like upset. I'm like, oh, wow. It's kind of like, I don't know, you find a dinosaur or something. You find, it's real. They're only harming themselves. So it doesn't make much of an effect on them. Does it? It didn't make an effect now to those ones who don't believe. It doesn't make an effect. It didn't make an effect on those ones in the Prophet's times. 124,000 to those who don't believe. Even if they are their own family members. But because they don't believe, the prophets who are their husbands and their fathers and their uncles or their nephews, because they don't believe, it means nothing. Completely nothing. That was what was making Holy Prophet ﷺ to feel so sad. I don't like to use the word depressed, but making him very, very sad. That Holy Prophet ﷺ was feeling like that a lot. Because he was trying to save everyone he was trying to save. But Allah is saying, didn't we tell you? Already the word is proven true, that most of them, they don't believe. Why are you worrying yourself to death? On the one hand, Allah is saying you are not authority over them. On the other hand, Allah is also saying you're not responsible for them. Your duty is just to say. So our duty is just to say. What was I thinking about today? I have to think. Why is it when you have more experience? And these days they say experience is according to age. Let's just say it like that. Older you get, the more wisdom you get. What does that mean? That means you get more experience. What does that mean? That means you have perspective. What is perspective? What perspective means? You're able to look at things according to how they appear properly. Right? Perspective. What is near is not far. Yes? What is far is not near. Perspective means you have, how you say? Depth. If you don't have perspective, and some people, they can't, their eyes, something happen, and they don't have perspective, they don't have depth. Everything is one-dimensional. Everything is like that. But it's not everything is like that. And I said, that's kind of true to some degree. Because when you experience more things, not about age, when you experience more things, more you're going to say, this happened here, this is more important like this. You have more. Everything is, you start placing them properly. Yeah? You have more perspective. You say, yes, this happened before. I know it happened before and it's happening now, but this is not here, it is over there, this is like this. This is not so important, this is not so heartbreaking, this is not so happy. We have perspective. We are listening to history for perspective. We are listening to Karbala for perspective. These days, when people don't get what they want, they may even say, oh, this is my Karbala. You understand? That is not perspective. But when you don't have too much experience, and tariqat makes you to go through that experience. When you don't have too much experience, everything is one-dimensional. You don't have perspective because you only have one thing or two things or three things happening. And you think these things, they are all in front of you, they are all important. And you behave and you react to them as if it is the most important things in the world because you don't have perspective. If you have a little bit more experience, you say, no, this heartache that yesterday I thought my world was going to end, it didn't. And tomorrow I have another heartache. With this experience, I will have more perspective. And with that, when I can see what is near and what is far, I can walk properly in this life. I can take what is from wisdom. Now, if you have a guide, oof, now that time you don't have to look too much. You just have to look to him and to follow. It is important. So, the words of Allah will not have an effect on the unbelievers. And I don't mean non-Muslims, I mean unbelievers. The words of the Prophet or the words of the saints, they will not. And Allah has said in much, much more brutal terms in the Quran, describing these ones. Deaf, dumb and blind. They are nothing but people of the fire. More, you say. So, for us, we should fear that we are not in that category. It's not free for all. Meaning, it's not without its signs. The signs of unbelief, they are open. And the signs of belief, it is also open. The signs of sincerity, it is open for people to know. And the signs of insincerity, they're also open. As Allah is saying, haqq is distinct from batil. No one can be confused. You say, oh, I don't know what is haqq. I'm so confused now. I'm so confused now. Your ego is making you to be confused. It's clear to 99 people in the room, but it's not clear to you. And Allah is saying, haqq, it is clear from batil. So whose eyes are you going to see? You must see with the eyes of a believer. You don't have that yet. We don't have that yet. You or me, that we must follow the eyes of our Shaykh. We must follow those eyes because he looks with the nur of Allah. Slowly when you start looking at those eyes, you'll start experiencing something, seeing some things also. And you're not going to care so much what anybody says. They can praise you one day, and they can start cursing at you at the other. Maybe a split second, maybe you're happy. Maybe a split second, maybe you're sad. But you push that aside because you have other things that you have to be busy with. What is that? Keep looking with the eyes of your Shaykh. Keep looking. Don't look around too much. Yeah. So we remind people. It is up to you. Allah is Jabbar and Allah is Qahar. He can force us, but He's holding that back. He forced earlier nations. He was quick with His qualities of Jabbar and Qahar to so many nations earlier, but because of Rahmatan lil Alameen, He is holding that back. So we must follow the way of the Prophet, so that that Qahar and that Jabbar is not going to touch us too, because like this or like that, we're in this system especially, we are supporting it. You understand?